That it will.
Yeah. So anyway, welcome to 2019, Ditch the Diet, Face the Feelings with Sarah Whalen, Sharon Froshen, Zandra Sperling, and Michael Sommer. Really nice to have you guys here. And the topic of the day is really about keeping your word to yourself. Because while I say, my word is my bond, what it really has been impressed upon me is that every time I tell myself I'm going to do something and I don't do it, then I sit there and I'm feeling that I can't trust myself. I lose confidence. I don't feel as confident in myself of if I say I'm going to do anything, will I do it? So, you set a goal and you think automatically, I'm not going to be there. All right, Mike, do you want to check your microphone on the phone and see if you're working on there?
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, awesome.
We will celebrate anything.
Absolutely. So
Mike is so awesome. We invited him twice.
So yeah, great to have you, Mike. We're really glad that you managed to get that working. Great.
Thank you. Yes, I'll work on the other issue.
No worries. So obviously, last week I was talking with the girls from the UK, Shweta, Nina, and Sammy D, about New Year's resolutions and how not to do it. And of course, then, we got photobombed and gate crashed by Sharon, and we totally went off topic. Just a little bit. So we will try to stay on topic tonight, but I'm making absolutely no promises whatsoever.
So your word is not your bond?
No, not with Sharon in the room. Hell no.
Just want to be clear on the parameters.
Everybody learns that lesson with me sooner or later. I'm the friend that you have to explain to your other friends before you introduce me. That's me.
Thank God for you.
Yeah. So, what has been your biggest challenge when you're setting goals for yourself, when you're trying to change your life, when you're trying to change your eating habits or exercise habits or just life in general?
Not setting myself up. I will consistently set goals that are well outside of my ability to achieve at this moment in my life. They may be exceptional long-term goals, but I will take what should be long-term goals and make them immediate goals, and then not only fail because I designed it to fail, but then beat myself for failing. So then I have the failing and the beating myself the next time I go to try something. So one of the great things that I love about Kane's courses, by the way, one of the things that I love about Kane's courses is how he teaches us to be gentle, to not be so where we make these goals that they're not in line with our belief systems and they're not in line with our values, and then we blame ourselves. So it's all about taking responsibility for setting goals that are within your purview.
Yeah, it's interesting, Beth, when you sent the topic for this week, and I started thinking about it. I'm like, oh, my word is my bond. That's kind of been my motto my whole life. I feel that I'm a person of integrity, and then I stopped to really think about it. And it's easy to be that person of integrity and keep my word when I'm keeping it to somebody else. And I've failed myself a million times by not fulfilling my own promises to myself. So it was a really interesting reflection just to kind of sit with that, like, well, yeah, and who's the most important person in this equation? Well, it should be me. And I'm not even keeping my word to myself for all of the, promises to get fit, lose weight, love myself more, accept myself as I am, all of that stuff. And I so far, I've failed 100% of the time. So it's just been really interesting observation.
Yeah. Any thoughts on that, Sandra or Mike?
My thoughts are exactly the same as Sarah. When I got that, I thought the same thing. And I thought, oh, the integrity was always there when I was working. And I did whatever needed to be done. But when it came time for me, it was always, I'm on the back burner. And everybody else around me at the front and center. And then you go, oh. And then comes the, well, geez, I really didn't want to do that. Oh, but I guess I did it because of them. And then it's like, oh, but what about me? And that's not being selfish. When you start looking at what about me, don't take it in as a selfish perception of who you are. You really need to look at it from a point of self-care for yourself.
Yeah, there's actually a virtue to selfishness, because only by continually striving and becoming our best version of ourselves can we present ourselves to the world that way. So if we aren't being, virtuously selfish, then we are shortcutting everybody. Shortcutting is not the word I wanted, but there is one out there somewhere. Anyway, we are, that's the one. Short cheating, short something. So shortchanging everybody in our lives by not fulfilling our own potential.
Yeah, we can't give from something that's happened. We just can't.
Well, I mean, one of the biggest lessons for me was that you can't give from an empty cup. And so, I'm keeping my word to everybody else, but I'm not keeping my word to myself. And I'm drained and I'm exhausted and I can't give anymore. And then people are saying, you're starting to drop the ball. And I'm sitting there, yeah, but which ball do I keep in the air and which one do I drop? And it all comes falling down because you failed to keep your word to yourself. And you failed to have good boundaries, and you didn't realize how much you'd already committed to, and you thought, well, I'll just let this one slide because it's to me, and that one's more important because it's to them. And is it really more important just because it's to them?
No.
Or what was more important was I needed to learn to say no.
And we just set up these patterns of self-sabotage and repeat them, and we've entrained that unto ourselves to expect it. So yeah, it's time to break the habit and crack the mold and find better ways to honor ourselves.
See, but I've always gone the other way, where I've taken care of myself, and I've set goals for myself, and then it goes to the extreme. Then the other people in my life kind of get pushed aside, and then I'm selfish. So in my world, it's been trying to find that balance between, not diving in with both feet, which is what I do with pretty much everything I do, but still maintaining my awareness of those around me and how that affects them. So it's kind of cool hearing two different perspectives. And that's something I'll always continue to work on. Right now with working out and changing the way we eat in the house here, I could have jumped into it full force about, 4 or 5 months ago, but my partner wasn't ready. She's like, well, I'm not there yet. So I'm like, okay, I'll just bide my time. So then there are the excuses. Well, I can eat this or I can do this because we're not exactly ready yet, so it's just, it's really finding that stick-to-itiveness and just moving forward. And I think that's always a daily lesson.
Yeah.
I think changing the terms here can help a little bit too. If we change it from self and others to internal and external, That takes a lot of the selfish, because we've been taught, rather unfortunately, by an education system owned by banking cartels, that it's not okay to focus on us, that we have to focus on other people, and that benefits the people who gave us this faulty education system. Because if we were to truly focus inward, if we were to focus on our own internal health, if we were to focus on our third eye, if we were to focus on waking up and actually have a nutrition system that supports us, an education system that encourages it, and a religious system that guides us in that path, we would be unstoppable. We already outnumber the powers that were hugely, and yet we continue to do this same playing small game, and I don't understand why.
Yeah, but you play small when you don't trust yourself.
Yes. I think too, Beth, don't you find it really interesting listening and listening to Mike? Isn't that masculine in him? And no offense, but
Right. Oh no, none taken. I
girls, right?
Yeah.
And it was really, I look after myself, but with females,
we're taught to nurture first. I mean, yes. We are wired. If you look even at in the nature kingdom, how many animal mothers will sacrifice themselves in order to save their cubs?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so there is this, how many birds, for example, will lead a predator away from their nest, pretending to have a broken wing or whatever, and we are, as women, brought up to take care of others. But it's not just that, I don't think. I mean, at least I know for me, I've been a very independent woman. In business, I've been one way, and then in my personal life, I've been something else. And so I'm sitting here going, well, wait a minute, if I can do this in my professional life, why can't I do this in my personal life?
Because you've been given a belief system that you can't.
Yeah. And because I don't believe I'm worth it. I'm not worthy. And so,
but you are.
But you are, absolutely, yeah. But it takes time to realize that my cup has to be full in order for me to give from it.
Right.
My cup is empty. There's nothing to give.
Absolutely. I look at what was available to me when I went through school. When I went through school, we had home ec, we had typing, we had so many more classes to actually help us with real world life. And now
I did woodwork and metalwork and that sort of stuff. I mean, awesome. I did home ec, but I also did the whole, and you learned a whole lot of life skills. They were kind of filler classes that every term you'd say, well, I can do one easy one. What's it going to be?
Right.
But, we had fun in those classes.
I think it created us when we had that. I look at my grandchildren and what they have right now in school, and I'm totally appalled at world, honestly. There's nothing.
It's all here, but there's nothing kinesthetic. There's nothing social. Yeah. I mean, I can remember in 5th form, 6th form, 7th form, we had 2 weeks, I think, every year of community service.
Oh, wow.
Where we had to go out and work in the community at an old people's home or at a school for the gifted, or at St. John's Ambulance, which I did one year, which was awesome because I got certified in first aid. And, there was a whole lot of benefits to doing that, but you learn a whole lot of social skills.
Yes.
And
that's what's missing today.
Yes. Totally missing.
That and the ability to understand that you can hear something, get offended, and still be just fine. You'll be okay.
Yes.
You'll live and you will survive. Like you will go on.
Are you
another
okay,
day.
Mike? Oh, okay, I'll tell her not to offend you. It's okay.
It just seems so bizarre, like it should be anything different than that. But we're just being led down this goofy path, and unless you say no, stop, you know, who wants to be there?
And sometimes that's a scary proposition to look at. That's a very frightening proposition to look at the fact that our education system might not be in our best interest anymore. That's a terrifying thing to look at as an American citizen. It is. However, responsibility requires, and personal success requires that I be willing to take my responsibility for what part of that is mine. And it's the same with our nutrition. I posted this video in Nourish where this advertising exec was speaking before a crowd and explaining to them exactly how they get away with the advertising that they get away with. And her secret weapon was, guess what? Us. We are their secret weapon because we don't want to know.
Yeah.
We don't want to take responsibility. The whole room went silent and people's mouths dropped open. And it was such a powerful moment because that's a sentient being that you're eating. You know, and granted, if you access that meat in a respectful way, awesome. But to buy it from a mill where sentient beings are treated like garbage has energetic ramifications on top of dietary ramifications.
Yeah.
Totally.
My stepdad refuses to even consider GMOs at all. So when I talk about buying organic produce or grass-fed beef or free-range chickens, you know, I kind of get the raised eyebrow. But not in here. And I learned a long time ago that you must pick your battles, and this is not one that I will pick, at least with him. So, you know, and my sweetheart Kara feels the same way. You know, there's a reverence there for everything on the earth that we both share, and to have somebody in your life that is on the same page as you are with that, it just makes nutrition a whole different deal versus, you know, I don't care where it came from, whatever's cheapest, whatever's on sale. Man, I've looked at the ground beef in those stinking plastic tubes, and it's
Walmart.
Oh yeah, it's gross.
Oh, and you know what? You made a really good point, Mike. You said pick your battles, and I think that applies to this subject as well. That we pick things that we actually, I mean, we have a tendency to pick things that other people want us to do, or pick things that right now is the hot item, like, you know, go vegan at the beginning of the year. So everybody goes out to go vegan, and there's no planning involved. There's no real understanding of why we're doing it. There's no discussion of the fact that your whole cooking regime is going to change. There's none of that. It's just, well, being vegan is what's new and popular, so let's do it. And then when you fail at that, what you tell yourself is, well, being a vegan just won't work for me. No, poor planning doesn't work for you. Being a vegan might, but poor planning definitely doesn't. So like you said, Mike, pick your battles. Pick the things that are passionate to you, that are going to make the most emphasis in your life.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's really hard because, I mean, so many times we have such good intentions. But like I say, you know, we say I'm going to do this with having no idea what that's going to cost us, without having looked at it clearly. And we fail. And then we sit there and go, I'm a failure. And so suddenly we start owning failure as part of our being, as opposed to this type of action doesn't work. It's not that I'm a failure. It's that approaching this problem from this perspective, trying to do it this way won't work. But that becomes our definition of self. I'm a failure.
And that is by design.
And multiply that times however many things you may try if you don't plan for it. You know? It's all.
Yeah. It's amazing to me when you actually start considering a lot of the things that are included as basic underlying principles to just modern psychology, they really are completely opposed to interpersonal health. It's all about out there and relationships out here and this out there. And the truth is, until this is fixed, you're going to keep manifesting what's in here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The other thing too is when we are looking at whatever we're doing, even if we don't meet that end result, we never give ourselves the credit for the little successes that we had along the way. We always, and part of this is society too, and how we were brought up and all of the rest of it. We're always geared to look at what didn't work. We're not geared to look at the little tiny steps that actually really worked.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, the 99 steps that you succeeded at before not succeeding at the 100th step. Yeah. Well, that's why it's important to just look back over your accomplishments. You know, before the end of the year, when we had that little gratitude jar posting, you know, it's a great way to just keep track of all of those little successes throughout the year. Every time something good happens or something you're grateful for or a win of any sort, and you just write it on a scrap of paper, put it in your jar. The end of the year, New Year's Eve, sit around and read about all of your gratitude and accomplishments for the past year and just
Hey,
that momentum in.
Hazelman is saying hello and good evening to all of us. So
Dave, what's up, man?
Nice to have Becky Stokes as well, and Deb is also watching us this evening. So good to have you guys here. And yeah, we're talking about keeping your word, especially to yourself, which is really tough. You know, it's about putting decent boundaries, about also, you know, we've been talking about where you set yourself up for failure. And you fail to notice all the times you didn't fail, all the times you got it right. But that one time you failed, you just keep beating yourself against the head because I didn't get it right.
Another part of it too is listening to the opinions of others. So you're your own unique person. You have your own background, you have your own history, you have your own experience, belief systems, values. Nobody else is going to do it the way that you do it, and nobody else is going to see it exactly like you see it. So we go to other people and we tell them this is what I'm going to do, and they don't see it our way, and we're like, yeah, that was stupid. That's just an opinion, and we all know what opinions are like. Everybody's got one. It doesn't mean that you should alter yours because somebody else's is different. There will never be another you, ever. So why would you rob us of the chance to know that unique you by making yourself a carbon copy of another person?
Yeah, and I've said to somebody, I want to do this, and they're like, well, that doesn't work for me. And I'm like, well, I'm not saying you have to.
Oh God, that's hilarious.
I didn't say you
it didn't work for them to do, or it didn't work that you were going to do it for them.
Exactly.
I'm lost. I need to know.
I never clarified. I just walked away. I was like, what the?
Wow.
That's crazy.
You have to admire the sense of self-respect that issued that statement.
Oh, good. So how do we go about deprogramming ourselves for this faulty belief system that we can't keep our word to ourselves?
Small goals.
I think we start with little small baby steps. We
Yes.
tell and promise ourselves something that we know we can do, and we set ourselves up for success where we start to trust our own word, and we do it like, we say, I'm going to do 1 minute of exercise every day.
That's better than none.
Exactly.
1 minute is officially 1 minute more than your butt was going to do. So congratulations.
Exactly. So, you sit there and say, well, I'm going to do 35 minutes or I'm going to do an hour of exercise. Bullshit. Something's going to come up. You're not going to get to do it every day. Okay. So set yourself up for success, making promises you can keep.
Yes.
The other thing that has helped me is some of the things that I want to do, I just keep to myself and I do it, because as soon as I tell somebody else and I don't do it,
Oh, God. Yes.
oh, the hammer falls.
Yeah, that amplifies the pain of failure, doesn't it?
It does, and it's horrible. So if you can take those small steps and knock out 2 or 3 of them, you start to build confidence, and you go, okay, well, there's this big thing I'd like to do, and I want to share it with somebody, so maybe they can keep me accountable. Go for that. Yeah. Because that also helps.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you're
I have
looking
to
at,
say, I'm part of an accountability group that we work on business goals together. And everyone has their own goals, but we come together every week and say, well, this is what I'm going to do. And then at the end of that week, it's, well, this is what I did. Now, I had a problem with my accountability group that I had last week, that I could bullshit them reasons as to why I hadn't done what I said. I love it. Why I hadn't done what I said I was going to do, and they'd buy my bullshit.
you've outgrown your group.
And I've had to call the group out and say, okay, guys, stop buying my bullshit. I know I'm good at selling bullshit, but stop buying it.
Stop being so good, damn it. That's hilarious, Beth. I love that. Another thing that we do too is the past doesn't predict the future. So you may have failed 99 times. That has nothing to do with the 100th time, unless you decide to make it part of that. They're completely unconnected, but we screw up once and then we let our thoughts tell us, well, look, you've got a pattern. No, that was now, then. This is now. Those are two completely unrelated things. And then we have this tendency, after we've done that part of it to ourselves, to turn around and then question why it is that we have difficulty coming back to do. Well, because every time you do it, you screw yourself over. Would you continue to go out with the same? If there was a guy that you went and dated, and every time you went out, you came home feeling less, like you didn't like yourself as much and feeling used, would you continue? No, you'd probably call your girlfriends and talk a mess of crap about them and then move on. But we take stuff from us. If I heard anybody talk to one of you the way I talk to myself, I would knock him out cold, and yet I take that from me.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that was the hardest lesson for me last year was forgiving myself and letting it go.
Yep.
Believing that once I'd forgiven myself, I released it, and I then changed my behavior.
Yes.
Yeah, and without the behavior modification, it doesn't actually change, and you haven't actually done the forgiveness.
Right. Because if I still feel guilty about it and I'm carrying that guilt with me, I haven't released it, and I'm going to fall into the same hole again because I'm still carrying it. So like there's this whole part of, I want to clean up my diet. Yes, I want to clean up my exercise and everything, but I got to clean up the shit I'm carrying.
Yep.
So true.
There's one thing about failure too that can be looked at a different way. If let's say it's something that you started and maybe you did it for 6 months Maybe it's a business. Maybe it was a workout routine, and things came up, and you either closed the business or you moved on. But what happened in that time that you were in it? You gained experience. You now have knowledge that you didn't have prior. So it gives you the ability to back up, regroup, apply what you learned. And if you want to try it again, you're a little more prepared. And I think a lot of times people forget that. It's not just, oh, I failed. No, I'm screwed. I'm worthless. No, you failed. And if you really want it bad enough, prepare and do it again.
Yeah.
That's like the old Thomas Edison quote, which I'll not get exactly right here, but when talking about his roughly 3,000 attempts at creating the light bulb, and they asked him, well, don't you feel like kind of a failure for, the 2,999 times that that it didn't work? And he said, no, what I identified were 2,099 theories that don't apply here, but they were valid theories at the time until I tested them. And then I found the one way that works. So yeah, it's only a failure if you quit.
And if you keep repeating the same pattern over and over, that is the definition of insanity. We insist on doing this. We find one way to fail, and then we continue that very same pattern next time we try it. Well,
not that failure.
But we don't learn from it. We fail to recognize that I've got to do things differently. If I want this to work, I've got to approach this from a completely different angle. I've got to go at this from a totally way that is outside my comfort zone, probably. Because if it was inside my comfort zone, I would have already have done it.
Yep. Repeatedly and failed at it. That's what happens. We get comfortable with something and then we start doing it and we fail at it until we get it right. That's literally the way it's supposed to go. And we're so afraid of failure that we never start. So we never learn. That's just sad.
You don't know if you're going to actually fail until you actually fail. In all honesty, you don't know. If you don't try, you don't know if you're going to fail or if you're going to win.
Unless you're setting yourself up for that because you're carrying this, I'm going to fail at it. And then you sabotage yourself.
Yep.
Or how many times is that just an excuse to let yourself off the hook?
Of course.
For whatever reason that you don't feel
because it's uncomfortable. I know I was talking to Sarah on the weekend. We're supposed to have a coaching session, accountability group get together. And I was like, I don't want to go. And she's like, neither do I. I was like, well, in that case, we better go, huh?
By all means, show up.
I was like, oh, we don't want to go. Yeah, well, we better go then. That's probably a sign that we need to go.
And I think another really important thing to remember is just because your head tells you something doesn't mean it's true. Yeah. It really doesn't. So one of the things that I'm working on this year is presence. I want to be more present. I want my energy to be more focused when people are around me. Now, my head constantly tells me that's impossible. That's not going to happen. Oh, you weren't present there. You weren't present there, but you want to be present. You're going to be present. My head does that. If I don't check that and say, you know what, that's just a thought, and I'm going to go ahead and return to being now, I'll follow that thought as though it's truth. I will follow what my head just said because it's our own voice. Like Dave is hopefully still watching. Dave's the one that always says, God speaks to us in our own voice because it's the only one that we don't question. We don't question our own voice.
Wow, that is powerful.
So, the whole
That's
point behind
small voice, absolutely, yeah.
Because we hear it in our own voice, we follow it, and the point is, we have to start challenging this idea that because I thought it, that means it's true. You have a CPU, and you have the equivalent of a CPU. and everything that goes into it is going to come back out. That doesn't mean that you've moved backwards. It just means that the instrument panel is repeating the message to you. That doesn't mean that anything's changed. And you have the right to go, hey, you know what, buddy? Thank you for sharing. I'm going to go right back to where I was again. I'm not going to follow this. But that's a pattern that we have to develop.
So interesting.
Yeah.
And just think if you were coaching a client and they came in and sat down. Well, first of all, we say, well, tell me about your wins. We don't talk about, the losses. But if somebody came in and said, well, and I had this totally crappy week and there were 87 things that went wrong, you don't look at your client and say, wow, you are a failure.
We would turn it around immediately and say, well, what went wrong?
Right. So that's the exact curious, open, compassionate attitude that we need to have toward ourselves.
Yes.
Oh, hell no, that's not going to happen.
Well, a lot of that is because I think all of us in this room were raised Christian, and you're raised literally to believe that from birth, there's something wrong with you, that your lower nature is satanic, and why, of course, we're going to look at ourselves as less than. We're literally taught to. We're taught to in society.
Yeah, we're
That's
not taught to
beautiful.
win. We're taught to fail. I mean, like
No.
I was listening yesterday, thank you, Sharon, to a video by Paul Solomon. And, one of the things he said was, well, you sit there and you say, well, Mother Teresa was penniless. No way. She managed millions. You say Gandhi was penniless. It takes millions to look penniless.
Jesus Christ had so much money, nobody in his 12 disciples noticed that they were being stolen from. We need to let that go, that idea of poverty and penance for religious and spiritual people.
But it's that whole idea that we're brought up with of you're always going to fail. And I know I was definitely brought up with that. You're repeatedly told until you absolutely believe it, I'm a sinner.
Yes.
Okay. And as opposed to your actions are incorrect and therefore change your actions, it became you personally, and it was personalized, and it was you that was that, as opposed to your actions and your thoughts being that. And I could choose to do differently.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a judgment.
But yeah. And so, you spend all this time thinking and excusing yourself. You have the perfect excuse. I'm a sinner and therefore I cannot help it. I'm designed to fail.
Yes. Thank you, Beth. Yes.
See, and I wasn't raised in that environment, but the overriding message that I heard my entire life was that I was selfish and didn't deserve all of the things that I had. So for me, it's just like a lifelong struggle of overcoming those tapes and that programming and just getting that out of my head that I'm selfish.
And therefore, of course, don't do anything for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't look after yourself because that's selfish. Don't make sure that your cup is full so that you have a full cup to give from.
Yep.
We program our kids too, though, in school, because we never ever look at they got 98% right, but they're punished for the 2 questions that they're wrong, and that's what's emphasized.
I can remember at the end of 5th form in New Zealand, I was at 96%, which means that in the bell-shaped curve, I was in the top 4%. And I was mad that I wasn't in the top 2%.
Such a Leo.
Is that just because you had high expectations of yourself, or is it because somebody else had high expectations of you?
Might have been because I didn't study. Might have been.
Well, we can't help you.
but there's that. I mean, that's all my life of sitting there, just kicking yourself for what you failed to do, and then sabotaging yourself and not doing it.
Yeah, and then even Jesus said, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. If you think it, you're right.
Yeah. So, this whole thing that, we started off with keeping your word to yourself. Make the promises, practical promises that you can keep so that you start to be a trustworthy person, so that you trust yourself. When you say, I'm going to get up at 6 a.m., you actually trust yourself to do that. When you say that I'm going to eat a salad 5 days a week or 4 times this week, you trust that you're going to make that happen. Because you've started to earn your own trust. I mean, we all know with kids, we tell them about the trust bucket, a friendship bucket, that, you keep putting in that bucket. And even if you take out one time, nothing matters because the bucket's full.
Yes.
But with ourselves, do we do that?
No.
Nope.
No, we do not. No. No.
Well, that was the old us. Now we're the new us.
Well, part of it too, like I have a 2-hour morning routine every morning, and God help you if you interrupt me. And the reason that I'm that way is not because I'm trying to be bitchy or selfish. It's because that literally decides how I show up in the world for the rest of the day. And I want to show up for you. I care about you. I care about being of service. I care. So I am willing to be a selfish bitch in the first 2 hours of the day and say, this is my time. And it's my time because this is how I work magic, because I put magic inside first.
Yeah.
I don't put it all out here and then wonder why I feel like, Cinderella in her rags cleaning the kitchen inside. Well, it's because you've put all your energy out here. Put it in here first. You are a vessel. So when you get filled and it starts overflowing, that goes into your family, your friends, your community, your house of worship, your place of employment. But that cup has to be overflowing first. And only you can do that. You're the only one.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I have in my schedule now that I don't do anything before 10 a.m. because I know that even on the mornings where everything went haywire, that means that from 8 to 10, I can do me time.
Yep.
So if I got up at 5:30 and little Miss Five got up with me, and I've spent all morning taking care of her, at 8 o'clock, I can hand her off and I get 2 hours for myself.
Yep.
So maybe
I schedule in naps. I schedule in study time. I schedule in reading. I schedule in my spiritual practice. That's in my calendar. And it's in my calendar because I don't show up for you. I don't show up for Nourish. I don't show up for Nourish Your World. I don't show up for Ecology. I don't show up for Practice Makes Permanent if I don't invest here first. It's not worth me coming out and spending time with you when I'm dead inside and I'm exhausted. What's the point?
Absolutely. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Any final words of advice about moving into this year, keeping your word to yourself, making those resolutions happen for people if they've gone with resolutions as opposed to words or goals? Or, for me, I know it was core values. What were my values going into this year? I know for Sarah, it was 3 values. Sharon, did you choose one word? You were going with a number of words. What were you going with?
Presence is my word for the year.
Presence, yeah.
And not the Santa Claus kind.
Yeah.
I have community and inspire for my words for 2019. The other thought that I had, especially for anyone who hasn't got their how to set themselves up to really be in that space that is their time. They may want to shut off their social media. Shut your cell phone off. Turn it off. Put it on.
Absolutely.
I've done that.
I do that regularly.
Yep. I don't get to touch my phone in the morning until I finish my routine. And I'm actually very faithful to myself about that.
Yeah. And I've begun shutting my phone off so that at 6:30, 6:45, my phone isn't dinging with a text message that could wait till 10 o'clock. That time is mine. And you need to really be firm about that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Set those boundaries.
How about you, Mike? Any final words of wisdom?
Start small and celebrate the victories.
Yeah, absolutely. Celebrate the victories. Yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Because so many times we finish one, we make a milestone, and we move straight into the next goal without that celebration. And you're absolutely right. That celebration is essential. Yeah. Thank you for that awesome reminder. Well, ladies and gentlemen that are watching us, thank you guys so much. We have another panel tomorrow, 3:30 p.m. our time, which is 8:30 in the UK, 9:30 in Europe for those that are on that side of the Atlantic. And we'll see you tomorrow with an associated subject, but not quite the same subject. And the subject for tomorrow is I am worthy. I'm enough.
Good stuff.
And obviously it follows on from this conversation of, valuing yourself enough to look after yourself, to keep your word to yourself, and to move through with those resolutions. And as always, we are in the group Nourish. We have an invitation to everybody. If you're new to the group, you can ask for an hour's coach session from any one of the coaches that are in the group that are offering. Take us up on it.
Absolutely.
Get that breakthrough to start off the year working on yourself the right way. So come and join us in Nourish if you're not already in the group. And I will put in the comments in Facebook the link to the group so that you can see them. So thank you guys all so much. Thank you, Mike, Sarah, Sharon, and Sandra for being with me. And we'll see you all next week, same time.